The stars shimmered like scattered diamonds against the inky backdrop of space, but Captain Arel Nassim's attention was fixed solely on a strange object hanging in orbit over Proxima b. A hushed silence settled over the command bridge of the Vigilant Horizon, humanity's newest diplomatic cruiser. Its gleaming silver hull was dwarfed by the alien vessel that loomed ahead, a Xirathean dreadnought, all shadowed spires and bioorganic armor that pulsed faintly with a sinister green glow. "They're not responding to our hails," Lieutenant Marin said, her fingers dancing across the console. "Weapon systems are dormant, but they're watching us. I can feel it." Arel narrowed his eyes. "We're not here to escalate. Patch me through on all open frequencies." The channel hissed before falling into a still, expectant silence. Arel cleared his throat, carefully choosing his tone, confident but unthreatening. "This is Captain Nassim of the United Sol Federation. We are on a peaceful diplomatic mission in accordance with the Galactic Concord invitation. We mean no harm. We request formal parley." The silence dragged. Then a voice like ice over jagged metal echoed through the bridge. "You bring war machines disguised as emissaries. The Empress sees through your lies." The crew tensed. Arel didn't blink. "This ship is unarmed. You scanned it yourself. We come to talk." Human words stink of ambition. The channel cut. Arel turned away from the screen, jaw tightening. This wasn't unexpected, but the hostility was accelerating. Send word to Earth. Let them know the Xiratheans made first threat contact. Back on Earth, news of the encounter was already spreading. In a glass tower room overlooking a storm-lit ocean, Director Alina Tresk of the Defense Intelligence Directorate studied the footage from Vigilant Horizon. The Empress's voice made the air in the room feel colder. Tresk knew this wasn't just a misunderstanding. The Xiratheans hadn't shown this level of aggression in over a century. She turned toward the man standing by the window, his silhouette etched in pale lightning. "We may have moved too fast," she said. Ambassador Darien Korr didn't look away from the waves. Or not fast enough. He was tall, whether by years of off-world negotiations, and a veteran of the Martian Concord crisis. He'd dealt with Xiratheans before, once, in a council chamber filled with phenomenal mist and dripping crystalline walls. He'd watched one of their envoys devour a rival mid-sentence. The Empress had sent him a message then. "We remember the sharp ones." Now, Earth had been invited to the galactic Concord. It was an honor for some, a trap for others. Darien believed it was both. "The Empress wants us isolated," he said. "She wants to break us before we take root." Tresk nodded slowly. "You'll go to the Concord. We need calm. Clarity. You're the only one who might keep this from boiling over." Darien turned then, his expression unreadable. "And if it's already begun to boil?" A pause. Then we hope they don't find what we've hidden. Far beyond Earth's orbit, among the frozen moons of Saturn, a different kind of ship stirred beneath layers of artificial ice. It was silent, patient, vast, and not alone. Thousands like it were nestled in the shadows of the solar system, shielded from detection by black project, cloaking grids, and orbital misdirection fields. Their names were not known to the public. Their schematics existed only in fragmented datasets. Their designation whispered within the inner circles of defense and intelligence. Project 3000 dangerous ship. Only a handful of people alive had seen one fully activated. At that moment, in one of the deep core monitoring stations on Ganymede, a technician leaned back from her console, eyes wide. "Commander," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "We just got pinged." Commander Ren Osei stepped forward. "From which node?" "Ship 1083. Passive defense triggered. It's tracking alien movement near Proxima b." Ren's breath caught. "Send nothing." "Not yet. Flag at high priority and log the trajectory." "Yes, sir." Ren walked out into the corridor, heart thudding. It had begun. Not open war, no. But the opening move on a board no one had admitted existed. Back in Concord space, Darien Korr arrived in ceremonial armor. Every line of the suit design conveyed restraint and strength. The Concord Hall was a hollow sphere of light and sound, suspended within a gas giant's magnetic field. Dozens of alien species drifted in pods, floated in mist, or stood in grav-plated zones. The Xirathean contingent was unmistakable, tall, obsidian-skinned, eyes glowing like dying stars, and in their center, Empress Virex herself. She wore no armor, no translator, only a living cloak of neural tendrils that pulsed as if breathing. Darien stepped forward. The hall quieted. "I bring humanity's voice," he said. "And a warning." The Empress rose. Her voice thundered without sound. "You bring fear. Your kind hides claws in clouds. Tell us the number." 3,000. Darien didn't flinch. "That number means nothing, unless you make it mean something." Her tendrils recoiled slightly, a twitch, perhaps a surprise, perhaps a rage. "I see now," she hissed. "You've built monsters." Darien's voice was calm, but behind his eyes a storm gathered. "We built mirrors." The hall erupted in sound, arguments in a dozen languages. The Empress's image flickered as her envoy dissolved into shadows, retreating with her. Darien stood alone at the center, the eye of a growing tempest. On Earth, in orbit, in icy moon caverns and foreign starscapes, a clock-long thought berry began to tick again. And far out in the void, Ship 000 opened its eyes. The council chamber pulsed with restrained energy, a dome of glistening crystal, suspended over the churning clouds of Zethus Prime. Here, decisions were made that shaped empires, and today, the focus of every eye faceted, scaled, or glowing was Earth. Empress Virex loomed at the apex of her delegation, the only figure seated on a living throne. Her neural cloak undulated around her in slow, predatory waves. Though she spoke no words, her presence dominated the chamber. Her thoughts were transmitted directly into the minds of her envoys, who in turn relayed them into the shared translation sphere for the rest of the council to hear. "Humans are contagion." Her voice boomed across the hall, though her lips never moved. "They breed chaos masked as progress. They speak of peace while assembling war engines beneath their moons." Ambassador Darien Korr stood at the center dais, alone and unarmed. He met the gazes of his judges without blinking. His posture was unyielding, but not aggressive. The quiet defiance of a man who had faced fire and didn't flinch at its memory. "They have revealed only glimpses of what they've created," Virex continued. "But even those fragments reek of escalation. The number 3,000. It is not coincidence. It is a threat. You all know it." Across the chamber, the elderly chancellor clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "You assume intent, but no weapon is dangerous until wielded. Have the humans wielded theirs?" "They've hidden them," Virex hissed, neural strands flaring. "Is that not worse?" Darien's voice, low and steady, cut through the rising murmur. "You ask us to be transparent while cloaking your own fleets in nebulae. You accuse us of deception while your agents attempt sabotage on our outposts. And yet we still come here. We speak to you." A ripple moved through the gathered species. Some recognized the risk he took, speaking so plainly. Others saw it as the audacity of youth. Virex leaned forward slightly, her cloak tightening. "You come because you fear isolation." "No," Darien said. "We come because we were invited. You fear what we might become." For a moment, silence held like a fragile thread. Then, the sphere in the chamber's center shimmered. A new image emerged, a hologram of Earth's outer defense satellites, captured by an alien scout probe. Along their orbit, faint energy signatures flickered. A fleet, dormant, vast. Virex's envoy stepped forward. This was not shared with the council. "Why?" Darien's hands remained still. "Because it was never your business." Murmurs erupted. Dozens of delegates spoke over one another, voices layering in dozens of tongues. A projection in the upper chamber displayed translation threads. "Violation of trust. A necessary precaution. This could destabilize sectors." The gross speaker, resembling a stone carved by centuries of wind, rumbled through the noise. "The Concord has rules. Sovereignty does not equal secrecy without cost." Darien stepped forward. Those ships were not built to threaten. They were built to defend. 10 years ago, when the Xiratheans raised the Trilix border colonies, where was the Concord? When smugglers sold neural disruptors to warlords in the Orion collapse, who stopped them? We did. Quietly. Efficiently. The Empress's neural strands coiled, absorbing his words like toxin. They are not weapons of conquest. Darien added. They are guardians. But guardians must be powerful enough to stand. A moment passed. Then another. Finally, the Empress rose fully from her throne. Gasps rang from lesser delegates. She had not stood in a council session for over 300 cycles. You claim restraint, she said aloud, her voice now filtered to sphere itself, no longer relayed. But restraint is a blade's edge, too easily tilted. Darien watched her, and yet you carry far sharper ones. Her glare could have scorched stone, but then something shifted. The Empress did not strike. She sat back down, slowly, a deliberate motion that echoed with threat and control. Outside the chamber, within the heavily shielded corridors of the Concord Hall, two silent figures walked together, Director Alina Tresk and Commander Renose. Neither had been announced. Neither had any official presence at the meeting, but both had their hands on levers the council couldn't yet see. He held the line better than I expected, Alina murmured. Ren nodded. They're rattled. That leak about the ships? Perfect timing. It wasn't a leak, she said. Not really. Just a calculated glimpse. Ren's face was unreadable. Will it be enough? For now. But we've shifted the balance. No going back. Back in the chamber, the hologram dissolved. The council began to fragment into discussion groups. Some whispering, others already transmitting to their respective homeworlds. Darien remained on the dais, immovable. One Xirathean delegate lingered longer than the rest. She approached with a grace too precise to be natural. Her voice was low, but her message clear. The Empress will never allow your species to sit as equals. Darien's eyes were cold. She doesn't have to. She just has to understand we're not prey. As the chamber dimmed and the delegates began to leave, the Council's central AI marked a new status across its hidden protocols. Humanity, status pending/threat level, reassessment in progress. And far above, in high Concord orbit, Ship 0416, cloaked, quiet, waiting, adjusted its bearing by a fraction of a degree. Darien Korr stared at the data feed scrolling across his neural interface. Ship 0416 had moved again, barely a whisper in the orbital dust above the Concord chamber, but enough to set off alert protocols. He didn't need the analysts to tell him what it meant. Somewhere in the black, someone had blinked first. On Earth, beneath kilometers of reinforced regolith and deception, the Nexus core stirred with rising unease. Director Alina Tresk entered the war room where the orbital tracking teams had gone silent. Screens flicker with relays from outer solar sentinels, showing movements that shouldn't be happening. 12 ships, classified under the 3000 directive, had adjusted course. Not just a monitor. They were aligning. We didn't authorize this, said General Voss, standing stiff beside the tactical map. Alina didn't glance at him. That's the point. The protocol is autonomous. If the AI detects pre-hostile formations near key assets, it initiates Phase 1 alignment. It's doing exactly what it was programmed to do. The Council will see this as a provocation. They already do, she replied calmly. This just makes it official. Elsewhere, among the outer Concord satellites, Ship 0416 wasn't alone. Dozens of sister vessels began slow synchronizations, a ballet of distant motion hidden behind gravitational shadows and data noise. Their alignment was imperceptible to most observers, but the Xiratheans had eyes better than most. On the bridge of the Velox Tal Virex, Empress Virex stood before a spherical display that pulsed with projections of soul-aligned activity. Her talons clicked lightly against the obsidian rail as she examined the trajectories, the energy surges, the patterns encoded within the maneuvering of the human constructs. They awaken them, she said, her voice low and intimate. Her chief advisor, Caliph, inclined his head. Quietly, yes, but the intent is clear. Fear guides them, she said, and fear makes creatures dangerous. Caliph hesitated before speaking again. Would it not be better to crush the threat now? Before these guardians reached full cohesion, Virex's response was not immediate. She stared into the darkness beyond projection, thoughts unfurling like smoke. No, let them stretch. Let them show what they believe protects them. Then we will prove it is illusion. Back on Ganymede, Commander Ren Osei stood inside the activation cradle of Ship 0007. The ship's central AI greeted him with a whisper in his ear, a voice so close it felt like breath. Command recognition complete. Awaiting order set. He placed a gloved hand on the interface crystal. No full deployment. Not yet. Initiate passive shadow net and prepare strike coordination modules. I want every ship in the 3000 fleet running predictive combat drills against Xirathean profiles. Acknowledged. Combat parameters synchronized. Estimated readiness 93.4%. The chamber pulsed with light, casting long shadows over Ren's face. He looked upward toward the vaulted ceiling. He'd trained for decades for the possibility that this program would activate, but training was a hollow thing compared to the weight he now felt. Across the void, in Concord diplomatic chambers, Darien Korr paced the length of a translucent walkway. The floor beneath him revealed nothing but clouds and gas far below, the constant reminder that diplomacy here was suspended in uncertainty. A soft chime marked the arrival of a private transmission. Alina's face materialized before him, grim and tight. Their fleets are drifting too close to ours, she said. The AI is making moves to preempt. We need this council session to de-escalate. Buy us time. Darien exhaled slowly. They've already decided we're a threat. Then show them they're wrong, she said, or make them think twice. The transmission cut. Moments later, Darien entered the central Concord chamber once again. The mood had shifted. Tension threaded through every seat. Delegates who once looked upon humanity with amusement or suspicion now looked with calculation or dread. Darien stepped to the platform, his eyes sweeping the audience. Let us be honest, he began. What humanity has built, we built because the galaxy forced us to adapt. You say we're dangerous. Perhaps we are, but only because we've learned how to survive in a universe that doesn't offer mercy. He took another step forward. Your empires are old, ancient. We are young. But in our short time, we have endured extinction-level climate collapse, lunar wars, and 2 full AI rebellions. And each time, we emerged not more brutal, but more vigilant. We know the cost of war. That's why we prepare for it. Murmurs moved through the chamber, like a distant tide. You fear our 3,000 ships, he continued. But those ships have done nothing. They haven't fired, haven't threatened. Their existence is not an act of war. It's an act of warning. He turned to face the Xirathean delegation directly. You assumed we would beg for inclusion. Instead, we came prepared to walk away. You assumed we would hide our strength. We chose to show it, not as a weapon, but as a truth. Empress Virex did not rise, but her neural cloak slithered higher, coiling around her like a serpent sensing blood. Then your truth, she said slowly, is the lie of all empires. That might is its own virtue. Darien shook his head. No, our truth is simpler, that no one will ever take Earth without consequence. The chamber fell into silence. Not anger, not applause. Something deeper. Calculation. And beyond it all, orbiting silently above Earth, Ship 0001 received a final relay. Standby deactivated. Active monitoring engaged. Phase 2. Authorization pending. The game had changed, but the pieces had only just begun to move. The stars around Earth burned a little brighter that night. Not from natural brilliance, but from tension threaded invisibly through space. Ships drifted in silence, thousands of kilometers apart, but locked in a gaze as fierce as any blade. Humanity's secret fleet, once dormant in the dark corners of the solar system, now stood visible, aligned like silent sentinels across Earth's perimeter. The signal had not yet come, but the universe could feel its weight. In the control chamber beneath Olympus Mons, Director Alina Tresk reviewed real-time telemetry from across the fleet. The data moved with surgical precision. Power fluctuations, thermal surges, electromagnetic pulses, everything tightly coordinated. The command AI Argus presented potential threat models against Xirathean formations. None ended without catastrophic loss. "We can hold them," said General Voss, watching the same projections. "Not win, but hold." Alina didn't look away from the screens. Holding is not survival. It's stalling. Her hand hovered over a biometric key, the one that would authorize Phase 2. She hadn't pressed it. Not yet. A part of her still hoped Darien would succeed. A part of her still believed in words over war. A message blinked onto her private channel. From Darien. One word. Stall. She withdrew her hand. On the Velox Tal Virex, Empress Virex sat in stillness, surrounded by silence. Caliph remained beside her, postured deferential but tense. "They hesitate," he said. "They posture," Virex corrected. "They speak with iron lungs but soft bones. Still, they understand one truth now. We could end them. The only question is whether it is worth the ash." Caliph tilted his head. "And is it?" She did not answer. Instead, she summoned the last visual relay from the council chamber. Darien Korr's face appeared in the feed, tired, resolute, uncompromising. "He is not what I expected," she murmured. Caliph's spines twitched. "He is dangerous. Their most useful weapons always were human skin." The Empress slowly closed her fingers. "Or their most foolish." High above Concord space, Darien stood on the observation deck of the diplomatic cruiser Solstice Reach, watching the Xirathean dreadnoughts reposition. They weren't approaching, but they weren't leaving either. A standoff had taken root in orbit, held not by treaty but by uncertainty. His message had been sent, blunt but clear. The human fleet was awake, watching, and not easily dismissed. He heard footsteps behind him and turned. Ren Osei stepped through the airlock, armored in a sleek command rig, the kind only worn during strategic high-readiness states. His face was tight with contained emotion. "We're nearly out of time," Ren said. "The fleet is synced. Any further movement from them, Argus would default to Phase 2. You bought all the time we can afford." Darien nodded. "Then we hold the line until the very last second." Ren approached the viewport. "I always thought we'd reveal Project 3000 in triumph. Let the galaxy see it and recognize that Earth had finally arrived. But now, it just feels like we've shown our teeth to stop a throat from being slit." "We never built them to rule," Darien replied. "We built them to make sure no one else could." A pause. Then Ren said quietly, "If they fire, we fire back. No turning away from that." "I know." Ren studied him. "Do you regret it?" "Showing them." Darien's answer came without hesitation. "No. You only regret showing your cards when you have nothing to play. We have something." They both turned toward the stars. Meanwhile, in the depths of interstellar space, beyond even the Xirathean sensor net, something stirred. A ripple in the dark. Ship 0001, once slumbering, now fully awake, received a ping that bypassed all known communication relays. It was not human in origin, nor Xirathean. Its language was unrecorded in any galactic lexicon. Just two symbols, translated crudely by Argus. Watching. Waiting. Back in the control chamber on Mars, Alina stared at the relay. She had seen this transmission before. 2 years ago, intercepted during a deep space probe mission lost in the Orion Drift. At the time, they had thought of Phantom Echo, the remains of a dying AI. Now it returned, precisely as Earth stood on the brink of interstellar war. She turned to her comms officer. "Mark this transmission priority red. Isolate it. And find out if any other species just received the same signal." "Yes, Director." In the Council's war room, Virex had also seen it. The same symbols. Delivered to her throne chamber, without trace. Her advisors gathered to decode it, but she already knew. "They are not human," she said softly. "Then who?" Caliph asked. She closed her eyes. "The ones who watched us before we became." The chamber dimmed. For a fleeting moment, the grand conflict between Earth and the Xiratheans became secondary, a new silence pressing in at the edges of all things. Darien Korr looked out at the converging fleets. His comms unit chimed again. Alina's voice came through, calm but laced with warning. We may not be alone in this anymore. Darien frowned. What changed? We thought we had 3 players on the board, she said. It looks like there's a 4th. And above Earth, deep in the black, ship 0001 began to rotate, not toward the Xiratheans, not toward humanity, but toward something else, something coming.